Hey everyone, welcome. I am absolutely thrilled you're here for today's explainer. We are diving into something truly special and honestly deeply emotional today. We're looking at the incredible life and the resilience framework of Les Brown. If you've ever felt knocked down or, if you're currently in the trenches trying to chase down a massive dream while facing some seriously heavy adversity, you are exactly in the right place. Today we're going to break down Les's exact framework for not just surviving those hard times, but becoming genuinely unstoppable.
All right, let's just jump right in with a question that might hit a little close to home for a lot of us. Why is it so hard to change your life? We all have these grand ambitions, right? But let's be totally honest. Chasing greatness is painful. It's difficult. It is absolutely paved with rejection and sheer exhaustion. And validating that struggle is the very first step here. Because if you're finding it incredibly hard right now, it actually means you're doing it right.
So that brings us to Section 1, the reality of the dream. Because chasing greatness is not easy.
Look, before all the sold-out arenas, Les was trying to run his business out of the Penobscot building in Detroit. He fell on incredibly hard times and literally had to sleep on the floor of his own office. Picture this, he's taking the elevator down to the lobby just to wash up, he's getting handed letters from management telling him this isn't a hotel, and he's getting laughed at by the security guards. They were openly mocking him, saying things like, look at this guy talking about becoming successful and he's sleeping on the floor. He was facing deep financial struggles, doubting himself, asking God why this was happening, all while actively trying to motivate other people. It was just profoundly hard.
So Les isn't just throwing around empty positive platitudes here. He earned this unstoppable mindset through a pretty extraordinary timeline of hardship. As a kid, he was heartbreakingly labeled educable mentally retarded and held back in school. As a young adult, like we just talked about, he was sleeping on an office floor. Yet he pushed through all of that to reach a massive career peak with his PBS special, You Deserve. And today, he stands before us as a 27-year cancer conqueror. He has truly lived the struggle.
And that lived experience brings us to this incredibly comforting takeaway. Rough times have not come to stay. They have come to pass. What a beautiful anchor that is. Les teaches us that when you're in those trenches and you're doubting yourself, you have to reframe it. Don't wake up and say, I'm having a bad day. Tell yourself, I'm having a character-building day. The hardship is just passing through.
Moving on to Section 2, find your unreasonable why. This right here is the engine of your resilience.
Okay, so back when Les was just in the 11th grade, feeling like a complete failure, he heard a speech from a teacher named Mr. Washington. Les ran up to him in the parking lot afterward and said this exact line, I want to work with people, and I got this dream of buying my mama a home. See, his mother had adopted him and his twin brother, and despite all logic saying a kid labeled slow couldn't possibly pull that off, that unreasonable dream became his absolute driving force. And spoiler alert, years later, he did exactly that.
So what about you? I really want you to ask yourself, what are your reasons? Seriously, write down 5 reasons why you deserve your dream. What is it that makes you unstoppable? Les says that when disappointments and rejections show up by the truckload, and believe me, they will, your reasons are going to be your rod and your staff. They will comfort you. If life knocks you down, try your hardest to land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. But you absolutely need those reasons to pull you back to your feet.
While you're grinding away for those reasons, you've got to keep this natural law in mind, the law of the harvest. Step 1, you reap what you sow. Step 2, you experience increased returns. But Step 3 is the brutal part, delayed gratification. Les reminds us that so many people give up simply out of frustration and a lack of patience. But hey, a baby walks when it walks, right? Be patient with yourself. Don't give up on your magnificent goals just because your seeds need a little more time in the dark before they finally bear fruit.
All right, Section 3, change approach, not decision. Let's talk tactics for breakthrough thinking. When you inevitably hit a wall, you basically have 2 choices in life. You can accept conditions exactly as they exist, but honestly, that turns you into what Les calls a volunteer victim, where you're just complaining about the problem. Or you can take full responsibility to change them. You have to decide, hey, I got me here, I can get me out of this. You have to actually expect to win. And sometimes taking that responsibility means totally throwing out the rule book. For centuries, the logical belief was that humans couldn't fly. People thought, well, if God wanted us to fly, we'd have wings. But the Wright brothers? They had breakthrough thinking. They completely changed the approach to transportation. Or think about the Olympics. Everyone used to high jump by throwing their legs forward over the bar. Then John Thomas and Dick Fosbury came along, threw their bodies backwards over the bar with the Fosbury flop, and absolutely shattered the limits of the sport. It's the exact same event, just a totally different approach.
So how do we actually do this? How do we cultivate this kind of breakthrough thinking in our own lives? Well, first, provide more service than you get paid for. Make that your absolute signature. Go where there is no path. Be totally willing to reinvent your life and your strategies. You also need to seek out trusted critics, people who will tell you what you need to hear, not just what you want to hear. And maybe the most important one, separate what you do from who you are. Don't ever let your past mistakes define your identity today.
If you feel like you are failing over and over again, please write this quote down. Change your approach, but don't change your decision. Ask for help, pivot your methods, reinvent your tactics entirely if you have to, but never, ever abandon your core dream. Which brings us to Section 4, Let Go or Be Dragged. We're talking about releasing the heavy anchor of anger.
Les actually studied psychoneural immunology during his battle with cancer, and he learned this statistic that just blew my mind. 1 minute of anger weakens your immune system for 4 to 5 hours. But 1 minute of laughter, that boosts it for 24 hours. He tells this amazing story about a rude guy deliberately blocking the sidewalk with his luggage just to taunt him. Now, the old Les would have fought him, but the 74-year-old cancer-conquering Les, he just moved his own bags and laughed it off. He literally cannot afford the toxic chemistry of anger anymore.
To build this into our daily lives, we have to consciously let go of the past. Do not internalize the criticism of others. Flat out refuse to hold grudges, because you know the saying, holding a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It just doesn't work. You have to protect your mental and emotional energy at all costs, and deliberately choose laughter over anger every single time.
I want to just sit with this quote for a second because it carries so much empathetic weight. Let go or be dragged. If you know deep down you need to let go of something and you just refuse, that baggage is going to compromise your power. It will drag you down and stop your growth right in its tracks. You've got to drop the heavy anchor.
And finally, Section 5, Rewrite Your Own Past. This is all about interpreting your life's story. Even after finding massive success as an adult, Les had to face a pretty profound realization. He heard this quote, "We might be through with our past, but our past is not through with us." And it hit him that he had this deep, subconscious anger toward the biological parents he had never even met. He realized that this lingering resentment was an invisible barrier that was entirely blocking his ultimate healing.
For years, Les carried this awful weight, viewing his own life story as being given away or abandoned. But a friend sat him down and helped him completely reinterpret that story. She reminded him that while biological mothers have 9 months to automatically love the life inside them, Les's adopted mother, she walked into a room, looked at him, and consciously said, "I'll take him." He wasn't given away, he was chosen with absolute love. And let me tell you, that shift in interpretation completely changed his consciousness. Which circles us right back to those life-changing words Mr. Washington told a young Les Brown when literally everyone was calling him the dumb twin. He said, "Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. The story you choose to believe about yourself, the way you interpret your very own history, that is what dictates your entire destiny."
So, as we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with a really big, deeply provocative question. What past story are you finally ready to rewrite today? You have greatness within you. It is time to drop the baggage that is dragging you down, reinterpret those past hardships as character-building days, and step fully into your power. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible framework today. Now, get out there and never, ever stop running toward your dream.